The disaster in the Gulf still a huge concern tonight. The oil spill just continues to grow.
Well, I am concerned. I don't know how you could not be concerned when you realize you've got, I think the latest estimate, about 210,000 gallons of oil pumping out of the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico every single day. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that that's an enormous amount.
Governor Charlie Crist traveled to Pensacola today, where that massive oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico is expected to impact Florida in just a matter of days. 6 counties along Florida's panhandle are expected to be affected by Monday, but that's not the half of it. Researchers from both the University of Florida and USF fear that the Gulf's powerful loop current could push oil from the growing spill straight towards the Florida Keys and eventually up Florida's east coast, impacting beaches from Miami to Jacksonville. Governor Charlie Crist has declared a state of emergency for these 6 counties in the Panhandle: Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Walton Bay, and Gulf counties. The Coast Guard says more than 200,000 gallons of oil is spilling into the Gulf of Mexico each day. Oil from the giant slick already coming ashore in Louisiana along the marshlands of the delicate Mississippi River Delta. This bird, found covered in oil, is one of 400 species threatened. Meanwhile, officials still have not figured out a way to turn off the well. The spill has tripled in size to roughly the size of Puerto Rico, covering 3,850 square miles. And so far, all of BP's attempts to stop the flow of oil have failed.
The problem here is we have a leak that's uncontrolled right now, leading to a source of oil that's it's not infinite, but it's very, very large there. As
oil continues to gush into the Gulf, people living in coastal areas are preparing for the worst.
I think the only thing that we can do now is just pray that ask God to help us out any way He possibly can.
250,000 feet of boom has been laid out to contain and soak up the massive spill, now measuring 70 miles by 130 miles and growing. The cleanup could cost billions, and while BP is responsible for the tab, there is a cap on the liability of an oil company. Still, many are distraught about not only the economic, but also the environmental impact. Several hundred people lined up for hazardous material training, many of them part of the $2 billion fishing industry.
I mean, we don't know what impact it's going to put on us, but we know they ain't good, because we ain't going to survive and we ain't going to make it.
Meanwhile, the government is taking steps of its own, launching 2 C-130 cargo planes to spray the spill with chemicals to break up the oil. And the government is mobilizing 6,000 National Guard troops to help with the cleanup. President Barack Obama is scheduled to make a trip to the area in Louisiana in the next 48 hours.